Hey guys, what's happening? Today we're going to be going on a trip over to my buddy's house. We're going to be swapping a motor over. He's got like a 2000s-ish Civic. It's like a EX, I believe. He has an American, obviously, because we live in America, but a d17a2. And he blew the engine a little bit ago, and he's now trying to get a d17a, which is just the JDM motor, from straight from Japan. He bought it from some random shop not too far from us, but he wants to put that inside of his car, and there's a couple problems that we ran into. So I'm going to show you guys what the issues are, how to fix them, and hopefully what the car's going to look like when it's all done, and if it runs, and if it doesn't, why it's not running. We'll see. But first things first, I gotta pull oil pans off today because that's one of the things that are different between the two engines. So I gotta grab some cardboard because it's gonna get a little messy. So I'll catch you guys in a minute. Alright guys, behind me I got Chad's car. It's like a 2000s Civic. And I'm going to show you real quick what the engines look like before I start taking them apart, just so you can see the difference in those oil pans I was talking about earlier. So this is going to be the d17a. This is a JDM motor. This has a little bit more horsepower than the A2. And we can see down here, there's your oil pan. And the problem that I'm running into is right around this area. There should be a bolt that connects to the oil pan. And there's obviously one, nothing that's by the oil pan, and two, this oil pan is steel, so if you were to drill into this as a support item, it would not hold up at all. Obviously, a lot of people know in the past oil pans are very small or thin, metal, flimsy, get hit by bumps and tend to crack. But in here is the old motor. And you guys can see here, that's completely different oil pan right there. The second thing that we're going to run into an issue with is on the transmission side of the head, which is over here. It's probably easier to go on the one that's outside. So on the side of the head that the transmission's on, there is a sensor. Either one of the oil lines, I believe, is what the guy said online. But one of these feeds basically is not the same sensor that the other motor has. So we have to swap the sensors out whenever we find that one. It could be here, it could be, a number of different places. There's a number of different sensors on these engines. So we're gonna just find it once we stick the engine inside. We obviously got the whole other one over there in case we do need any of those parts. And yeah, we're just gonna get going and see where this thing takes us today. Alright, so this is what happens when you hit VTEC too hard.
Danger to manifold, yo.
Yes. So that's the pan that we got to put on this motor. Got that pan off. We're about to go get some gasket maker from the auto store. So we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so we got the engine inside the Civic. One thing that we kind of goofed up on, I guess. Not really, but the old oil pan had a crack in it. So we called Honda. We called the Honda dealership and asked them whether or not it would be fine to use this old steel pan. And apparently there's no sort of brackets or support things in there. So we just threw that one back on. We got the engine inside the car. And we're ready to cook some bacon, baby. Alright guys, so we're taking it back. I'm sorry first of all for this video being kind of choppy. I'm sure a lot of people in the past, yourselves that it's really hard to work on a car and videotape at the same time. And in the past I've done a decent job of trying to do it, but this time with all of the work that had to go into the engine and doing it for my friend who needed a car because it was his only car, we didn't really have a ton of time to video. We didn't have a lot of different cameras there. A lot of them weren't charged because I was too busy making sure that all of my tools were charged every day to make sure that I was able to go out and do that job or that that thing for my friend, which at the end of the day was the most important thing. And I actually learned a lot from the whole situation, which was really cool. I learned how, putting in a JDM motor. So from, that motor was from Japan, and was imported over by a company around here. And then trying to install it into, this car with the different, harness issues that we had, as far as making sure we found the sensor that we needed to swap over, and figuring out if the oil pan needed to be switched or not, which at the end of the day it didn't, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But overall, there was a lot of stressful stuff, and I'm sorry for having the video be a little choppy and just kind of go from 1, 2 to 3, and then I guess 0 to 100 really fast before a lot of content was gone over. So that's why I'm kind of making this little section. Let's talk about the engine swap and what we ran into. So overall, throughout the whole time, what we did is we pulled one engine out. We made sure, obviously, we drained the fluids, and then we sat there and started to swap over pieces and parts that looked like they needed to go on. The engine that we got came with an alternator, came with the steering pump, came with everything except for the AC unit. So we just had to switch the AC unit over, and then we really had to take a great look at everything. And we did notice, actually in the video, I point to the part that we ended up finding the oil or the sensor that's somewhere in the the oil feed system. It's actually on that. It's an external part of the head that has an oil line running through it that controls. I believe it controls VTEC. Actually, it's something that people replace when their VTEC goes bad. So that could be 100% what it is. But it needed that sensor right there to be replaced from the USA one onto the Japanese one, and then screwed in, and made sure that the harness had all of the correct wires to it, so that everything plugged in without any engine codes or anything. The oil pan, we originally thought, I read it on a forum post, the things that I had to do to this engine before we kind of got started, and really the oil pan was kind of such an interesting thing. The steel one is the one that came on the JDM one. The aluminum one was on the American one, and we couldn't figure out why we had to use it. So we ended up trying to use it, ended up having a crack in it, so we weren't able to use it. Obviously, it would be leaking oil everywhere if we tried to do that. So we called Honda. We said, why do we need to use this aluminum one? What's the difference here? Why? Obviously, there was no support system. They said there was nothing to be seen on their end of the computers. Why or how the engine was supposed to be bolted up in that sort of way. Why it had support with the aluminum oil pan instead of the steel one. And overall, I don't know either. They said, go ahead and try it. So we tried it. Oil pan fit on perfectly. Obviously, it's the same exact motor. And to this day, it's been quite a couple months now. It's probably been a good 2 months since Chad's gotten his car back, and he still drives it. It's driving great. I don't know what else to say. We replaced all the fluids in it, 100%. Antifreeze, engine oil, trans oil, everything. We got genuine automatic trans oil from Honda. That's what they only recommend for automatic transmissions. So yeah, everything turned out really well. It was super simple, and actually the JDM motor is quite a bit cheaper. So this is a d17a. It's quite a bit cheaper than the A2, which is, in my opinion, awesome as well, because if you're trying to fix your car because it has a blow motor, and you saw in the video when I pulled that oil pan out, those chunks of connecting rod just sitting in there. Yeah, if you have that problem, you're going to need a whole new engine pretty much. Your cylinder wall is going to be nice and scratched up, and at that point, you're paying for the machining, you're paying for everything else anyway, so you might as well just go buy a new engine and get done with it. If you are going to be doing this exact swap, the d17a from the d17a2, and you have a question, let me know. I've done it once at least, and I can at least try to help you out with some of the questions you might have and the thought process that I had to go through to try to get all of that accomplished. But overall, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Subscribe for more if you have any questions, want to see more car edits, vlogs, especially with the new camera that's going to be coming in the next couple of days. It's going to be awesome stuff, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. see you later. Peace. Woo! I'm on a bike.